Hi, we are back and still working through Genesis. We are in chapter 28. We're going to cover verses 1 through 22. In chapter 27, we left off where Rebecca has had Jacob trick Isaac into giving him the blessing of God. And now he has taken both the blessing and the birthright from his brother Esau, who is the oldest of the twins. And now Esau is upset and mad and ready to kill his brother. He has made a promise that as long as his father lives, he will leave him alone. But the moment that his dad closes his eyes, he is absolutely going to take his brother out. Rebecca hears this and knows and sends Jacob away to go live with her brother so he is safe until we think Esau will calm down. And so in the verse 1, when the start of this chapter 28, Isaac calls Jacob and blesses him. And what this blessing is, hey, son, be safe in your journey, be safe in your travels. I pray you find the wife that you're looking for. That's the type of blessing that he gives him. And he says, you know what, don't marry these Canaanite women. They give us a headache and we can't stand it. Please go back to where your mom is from and go there, find one of your cousins, get you some kinfolk to us that understand our culture, understand our people, understand the requirements for us, and get one and bring one of those women back as your wife. And he prays that he is blessed to be fruitful and numerous, that there's lots and lots of sons that come from him, and that he carries the blessing of Abraham. Or that's the promise that God gave Abraham. And that he will, wherever he treads, wherever he walks, the land that he stands on, the land that he walks across is going to be land for his children in the future. And so in verse 6, Esau overhears the blessing that Isaac has given Jacob when he sends him away. And he realizes he wants him to marry a woman that's not a Canaanite woman. So Esau was like, okay, well, he don't like the wives that I have. Let me go get a different wife. Then maybe he'll like that one, because he is still seeking his father's approval. He is still attempting to be the man that his father has called him to be. Blessing, birthright, promise, all those things aside, he still loves and values his father's opinion. And so he goes to Ishmael. He goes to his uncle Ishmael. Ishmael is Isaac's older brother. And he gets one of his daughters as his new wife. And so he keeps the wives that he had before, but he brings in this new wife, hoping that this new wife will be more what he likes, because Ishmael was raised by his father Abraham. He knows God, he knows the culture, and he is hoping that this wife is more satisfactory to his father and to his parents. And so Jacob travels on. He gets out. He travels for a distance and he comes to a certain place. And when he takes a rest that night there, he pulls a stone and uses it as a pillow. Now, they do this a lot in the Bible. I don't know how these stones worked. It may honestly just be that it propped his head up so his head wasn't hanging funny. It wasn't that it was soft and cushy. It's just that it kept his spine in alignment so he could sleep well. And while he was there, in verse 12, it says that he dreamed that there was a ladder that was sitting on earth and it went all the way up to heaven. And the angels are going up and down this ladder. They are traveling back and forth between heaven and earth. And while they are going up and down, God stands and says, look, I am the Lord. I am the God of Abraham, your father, and the God of Isaac. Like, I am the father who promised you these things. I am the God who is over these promises. And I'm telling you that the promise that was given to Abraham and that was given to your father Isaac and that your father bestowed on you, I am confirming. I'm putting my hand on it and I'm giving it to you. I'm giving it to you. The blessing that's falling on you is the blessing that was falling on them. So in the last video, I did say that God didn't need Rebecca to be messy and steal this birthright or steal this promise. He didn't need her to meddle in it. What could have happened was just the same thing, very simply. Hey, I'm going to send my son to go and find a wife among my family because these women in this area are giving us headaches. And God could have done exactly what he needed to do. He still would have had to come to rest here. He still would have had a moment where he could have an encounter with God without the meddling, without the brother sitting back at home steaming, waiting to kill him. So we could have skipped the foolishness and gotten straight to this part by just sending him on a journey to go meet his family. So God didn't need her to interfere in any way in this. So in verse 14, he continues to promise him that his offspring will be like the dust of the earth, and that they're going to spread abroad. It's going to be north, south, east, and west. They're going to cover everything. Every family of the earth is going to have your people in it. That's how important and how big you're going to be. So I promised Abraham descendants. I promised your father descendants. I'm promising you that now we're going to start to see it. We went from having one son to having two sons. So now we're going to start to see the multiplication effect of my favor on you. And so in verse 15, God says, know that I'm with you. Know that I'm with you, and I will keep you wherever you go. And I will bring you back to this land, because I'm promising you, you're not done until you see the promise. This isn't a promise for future generations. I'm promising you that I'm going to be with you. I'm promising you that this land is going to be yours. I'm promising you that even as you go, I'm going to go with you, and I'm going to come back with you to bring you back safely, because this is the promise, and you're going to see this in your lifetime. And so when Jacob wakes up, he's like, you know what? God is here, and I ain't even know it. And he was afraid, because there's a natural fear of God that should occur when you have an encounter. It should be a little healthy, respectful fear of God there. And he's like, how amazing is it that I am in a space where angels are moving, where God can speak? Like, this is awesome. Like, I really came and I took a nap right here at the end of the gate. Like, this ladder is going up to heaven. That's like the sidewalk from the curb to the front door. And he is taking a nap right at the gate. Like, oh my goodness, how did I end up right here? And so in verse 18, it says he got up, he poured oil on the stone that he was laying on and set it up. He turned it on his long ways, so it's like a pillar, and he poured oil on it. He said, this right here is a place where God resides. This is a place where God is. And so this right here is going to be a place where worship occurs. And so it says right here in verse 20, he makes a promise. Jacob makes a promise. If God is going to go with me and is going to keep me and keeps me fed and clothed and brings me away and back to a place where I can get back to my father's house. Let me get back to my family. I don't have to be away forever. I want to go back home. If God will bring me through all those things, he'll forever be my God, and I'll forever worship him. And he says, this stone that I set up as a pillar, I pour oil on, is going to be a house of the Lord. This is a space where God's house is. This is a space where I am going to recognize and promise and worship. When we build houses of God, it's for worship. And he says, I'm going to give 1/10 to you. He has promised a tithe to God. If you bless me the way that you say you will, if you do the things that you say you're going to do, I'm going to give some of it back to you, just as a thank you for it. I'm going to tip you for it, Lord. Let me give you something back to show how much I appreciate what you've given me. So we are going to recap in this one. Isaac calls his son Jacob to him and blesses him and says, your mom told me that she doesn't want you to find a wife here because your brother's wives get on our nerves. So we're going to send you back to where I found her so that you can find a wife. And I want you to be safe when you go. And I pray that you find fruitful. I pray that you find wives who are who going to give you numerous sons. I pray that the blessing that God gave me be the blessing that rests on you. And he sends him off. And so Esau, who is still very much concerned about pleasing his parents, who is a good son and is still attempting to make sure that he is making his father proud and is honoring his father and what he taught him, says, well, let me go get another wife since they don't like these Canaanite wives. Let me find a wife that they do like. And so he goes out and he finds his wife. He goes out and he gets a wife from his uncle Ishmael. He goes and visits Uncle Ishmael and finds a wife, and brings her home, hoping this will kind of put some things at ease for his parents because they are bothered by the first two wives he has, who are Canaanite women. And so Jacob goes on his journey. As Jacob is traveling, he stops to rest at a particular place. And when he gets there, he dreams this ladder going from earth to heaven, and angels are moving up and down this ladder, and they are going up and down, to and fro. And he has a moment where he has an encounter with God, and God tells him, look, I promise you that everything I promised Abraham, I'm going to give you. The blessing that was on your grandfather and your father is now resting on you. It's not because your father prayed it over you, but because I said it for you, because this is my plan for you. Not because your mom meddled and got interfered into some things and messed some stuff up. It's because I said this for you. And so he wakes up, he picks up that stone that he was laying on, and he is just amazed at having this moment with God. And he sets this and anoints this and marks it as a place where God dwells, so that he knows, when I come back to this place, this is a place for worship. That God promised me that no matter where I go, he's going to go with me and he's going to bring me back. So I'm going to come back to this place as a marker to know that God fulfilled his promise to keep me, and that he's going to bring me back to my father's house. He's going to make sure my path is straight. He is going to feed me and clothe me. He is going to make sure that I am okay, and I am going to trust him to do that. So he goes ahead and he sets up and he worships there. He makes God the promise that if you bless me how you say you're going to bless me, I'm going to give you a tenth. I'm going to pay a tithe. I'm going to give it back to you so you know that I truly appreciate it. Let us make sure that we're not meddling in situations trying to fix it because we feel like God needs our help. He don't need our help. There was already a plan in place. It was no need to take any drastic, foolish routes. There was a plan in place. And when we have encounters with God, mark it. You have a dream and God show you something, write it down and wait for it to come to pass. You follow God, you trust in God, you do what it is that he told you to do, and wait for the promise to be fulfilled. You all be blessed.